Hello, and welcome to Just Three Workplace Gurus, a podcast about the real world of work. I'm
I'm
Amy,
Mike.
I'm Vivian.
and today we'd love to have the conversation about the amenities at home, at work, or wherever you may be the most productive. What does that look like? What are some of the things that we need? How do we earn our commute? How do we justify being home because the amenities are so great there? Mike and Vivian, I'm curious to hear from the two of you what you've experienced and what's a perfect amenity for you.
Well, I mean, I've been
That's a
doing
good question.
amenities for my
Go
whole
ahead.
career, right? I
Right.
90% of that stuff doesn't work. I mean,
Can we
we spent a lot of time talking about food.
hold on? But before you say that, can we identify amenities?
Yeah.
Because not everybody understands what an amenity is. And we're talking about
Great
workplace amenities, by the way.
Yes.
So that would be a good place to start because some do work, a lot do work. So let's define what they are.
I think amenities are similar to benefits, but they tend to be nice to have, not need. In other words, insurance is a necessity, possibly, stock or bonus or whatever. But amenities to me are things like food service. Maybe there's a dry cleaning service on site. Maybe you have a barista. Maybe you have a ping pong table or pool table. I do want to share a little bit about the early days of amenities from, my experience way, way, way back, because it is kind of funny. But to me, I don't
To
know. What do you
me,
think?
Well, yeah.
amenities to me are things that make me feel comfortable, make me feel productive
Well,
and efficient.
Mm,
I want to be
okay.
efficient. So that to me is what amenities mean. And you're right, they're wants. They're not needs. They're wants.
but they're strategic one. I see. It's interesting because it's not just the teams working for a company want this. We're going to give it to them. It may stem from that, but I think from a company standpoint, I'm sorry, but I just looked it up on my favorite ChatGPT tool. It very much said what you're echoing. Amenities are the features, services, and experiences a workplace offers that enhance comfort, convenience, well-being, and satisfaction for employees. They're the extras that make people want to be there, not just have to be there. And interesting, because it then goes to define traditional pre-COVID, is what I think you were just about to go to, Mike. And then post-COVID expanding to have a lot more support services. Very interesting. So let's go back in time. Let's rewind the clock. And where were you going,
It's
Mike?
funny that it told
In
you
the
that,
early
because
days.
that's exactly, I think, the conflict that we have is the amenities that we're used to don't work. And so now we're trying to figure out what the new amenities are.
Sure, they don't work. Can I
Well,
challenge you on that?
maybe some
Because
of
a lot of
them.
that is like free, coffee, free snack. That's an amenity, right?
Yeah, fair.
If you have a gym on site, that's an amenity that still draws
But nobody
people,
uses
right?
them.
But that's not true.
In my experience,
Maybe in your
nobody uses them.
experience, but in my experience, they
Okay.
do. And it's actually, I know a few people who say I actually like going to the office on those days because I get my workout in. If I do it at home with my kids around, like it's never happening. So I think we can't say they don't, but we might need more than what we had now.
Well, I think we have to challenge the
or we have to
norm,
change them.
right? And think about it
Yeah.
differently. So way back, I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think of the amenities. So my first job was at Netscape. And back then we did not have free food, but we had subsidized food. We didn't have a gym. We had a little bit of snacks, but not much. And we had air pot coffee. Like, it wasn't really very sophisticated. But I can remember when I worked at Palm and Google was just starting to come of age.
Oh, they were the amenity,
Yeah. So we were
gods.
hearing
Yes,
about
I have a story
free
about that.
breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and they had a dry cleaner on site, and they had someone cutting hair, and they had a dentist. And I remember distinctly saying to other people in the industry, we're screwed, because now everybody's going to want this
Oh,
stuff.
Toto toilets. I mean, the warm toilets, the whole thing. They had campus. They had like hundreds of bicycles. Just so people can get from campus
Yeah.
to campus. And we were told specifically, like, when they break, we just get new ones. Okay, wow. So there was a definite excess that they could play with, right?
My example of excess is when I worked at another tech company I went to was that 2013? We had 9 kinds of milk in the refrigerator. And off the top of my head, I can't remember, but
Wow.
like full fat, low fat, non-fat, almond, soy, like, I don't know,
Oat.
but there were 9.
Love
And we
it.
had so
Love
many
it.
snacks,
Love
and
it.
we kept toothbrushes with toothpaste and floss in a drawer for the
Mouthwash.
travelers or for like everything that you asked for, we gave them because that
Right.
was kind of the rule of the day. Everything. And we fed them 2 meals a day. In some parts of the world, we fed them 3 meals a day. I mean, I don't know how much, I can't
Wow.
remember anymore, but I was probably spending
Oh, millions.
millions of dollars on food. The number that
Oh,
comes
I'm
to mind
sure.
is 6 million. Like it was a lot of money. And then the expectation just kept getting higher and higher and higher. I want this thing. I want this thing. Why can't we have this soda? Why can't we have this juice? Why can't we have Red Bull? Like crazy stuff. And we did it.
No, but I'll say though, I'm very grateful to Google because they were one of the first to put sit-stand desks in place.
Yes.
And that was a game changer because it eventually led to today on Amazon for $200, not 3,000 with a doctor's prescription. You can get a good sit-stand desk.
The desk, right, that I'm sitting at.
Interesting.
Or you can call One
Yes, you can.
Workplace.
Yes, you can.
You what?
Yes.
What'd you say? What'd you say?
Or you can call One Workplace and we'll help you with your
Sorry.
sit-stand
Yes,
desk.
of course. But let me ask you a question, Amy, because you've been in a sense, I can't imagine amenities not a big, huge part of what you do. You're designing
is.
offices. So yeah, it'd be cool to see your before and after.
Yeah, I think, I was going to just digress for one quick second. I think of when the pandemic started, right, in March of 2020 and the shutdown. And a lot of the people who worked at these large tech companies all of a sudden had to have groceries in their house because they were always just eating at work. Or they needed to now do their laundry because their laundry was being done at work. There were a lot of things that had to really change because they had these amenities at work and didn't have to deal with them in their
Wow.
own day-to-day life. So I just wanted to point that out, that I think I remember that being a real big issue for many.
I'm
Interesting.
having a moment of
Interesting.
But
thinking
I
that
Interesting.
think,
we're all so elitist because these are the services we're used to.
it's crazy.
Well,
Yeah.
not only is
But
it so elite. Yeah, go ahead. I was
no,
going
I
to
was
say
going to
something.
say, but fast forward to today. And what does amenities look like? First of all, I think it's evolving. I think in the last 5 years, that has been $1 million question. What's
Mm,
going to earn that commute? What's that amenity that's going to bring them into the office? Or what's that amenity at home that people want and need? I mean, I think of eating. It's because everything in my life, it revolves around food. And if I'm at home, I'm going to be eating my leftovers or I'm going to be eating really healthy, right? Because I can
mm,
make a protein shake or I've
right.
got some really good options. If I go into the office, if I don't have a pre-planned lunch meeting, I'm like scavenging around the office and
Crackers and peanut butter.
it doesn't turn out good, right? I might have eaten chocolate covered almonds for the day and that's my
Bag
lunch,
chips,
or like peanut
cookies,
M&Ms.
donuts. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
so I think it's definitely been evolving, but is that why I came into the office that day? Probably not the food anymore, because I feel like now I have better options at home.
Mm.
Amy,
So it may not be the
do you have
food.
full lunch ever? Like a
Well,
full
I
lunch
do
at the
because
office, I mean?
we do if we have
Yeah.
meetings and things like that. But it's not like we don't have a every Wednesday lunch is provided. No, but I do feel like we have a lot of food. I come into the office though, when I think of amenities, I want a quick connect, disconnect so that I have a good Zoom experience.
Mm.
Yes.
I think that is super important to me.
So more of the technology stuff. That's
The
interesting.
technology is very important, right? I think that is a huge amenity that I look for. I also like we can work from anywhere in our office. And so I love the flexibility to choose where I want to work for the day based off my mood, right?
Yes.
Like maybe I feel collaborative, maybe I feel antisocial, maybe.
I'm
So it
going to go
just
in the
really
nook over
depends.
here. I'm going to go be in a social space,
Let's
right?
talk
Yeah.
about
But
that.
I,
Let's
I
talk about that for a minute because I do think that's really important. And we were at
yeah,
your office a couple of days ago, the three of us together for the first time in a long time. I love that you have as many places to work as you do, and as many different. Now, I don't think most of us can build that kind of an office because obviously it's part of a sales tool as a furniture dealer.
it's a showroom,
But the
right?
ability to go off to so many different places in the office to work, I think is just fantastic. Like it really, I kind of wanted to, start going in and working there because it just is a really cool place to be. And I think most of us
Amy, we're
try to
coming
build
in.
Come
that,
on
but
over.
a couch area, a conference room with 2 sofas or 4 chairs, or some people want a table,
Dining
a big
area.
cubicle, a small cubicle, a bullpen area where you're sitting with your colleagues. There's so many different ways that you can build cool workspace. And I think that is becoming sort of the unknown amenity. Like, I don't think most companies have figured out how to do that well.
Well,
Well, I think one way they're doing it are shared amenities, right? So
shared
the
amenities.
building
Yes,
owner,
yes,
landlord,
yeah,
or property manager, they create shared amenities. Like Vivian, you were talking about the gym, or
The
maybe even
bar
some of
or
those
the
collaborative areas. I was just working on a project where we talked about the outdoor space, and they have fire pits and bocce and barbecues and tables with umbrellas. That's not belonging to the
right.
tenant, that's belonging to the tenants. And
Our
that link
our
builds a different set of
right, our
community.
viewers would know I worked out of a podcast room at the last company I worked at, where that was an
Right.
amenity they built. I think I was probably the only person who used it, at least yet, but I think that will take off.
You're saying something great because I'm in New York City, and so sometimes I go to co-working
Yep.
spaces just to get out of my apartment, do something different. And there's one in particular I find myself going to a lot because, like you said, they have it within their space. They also have like the phone pods, the shared desk, little nooks and
Mhm.
crannies. It's not anything like one workplace, but it does offer variety. But they also bring in amenities. You're right. So, like, there'll be a yoga class on certain nights of the week, and there'll be a discount at 3 or 4 restaurants nearby. So they've been very thoughtful, right? And one of them actually has a meditation room and just a quiet space to
I
just
love
sit
that.
for 10 minutes and collect my brain and soul, and then go back out and do it. And so that's a very good point. Like, the space itself may not have amenities, but could you
But the
tap into
community
shared
might.
or
Yeah.
even bring resources in?
Do you know what I always wanted to build, and I never well, I tried it a couple times, it didn't really take off, but I remember in college going to the student union, I guess, and they had quiet rooms with, like, 20 chairs, and you could go in there and you could read a book. I think most students just fell asleep, but the idea that there was a place where you could absolutely count on being silent, but you're not dedicating 20 rooms to that, you're dedicating 1 room to that, I thought would be really
That's
cool.
smart.
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try with
Well,
a
yeah, and
client someday
I
to
was
do
I
that.
was just at, and I think well, it's interesting because somewhere one of you said the word privilege because so many industries don't have all of
No.
this, right? You go to work, you're in a hospital. I have to show up every single day, and this whole hybrid thing for so many, understandably, will roll their eyeballs at us if you're listening. You're like, what? I have to, I work in a post office. I work in whatever. I'm in retail. Like this is not even a thing. So I think that's something that I think we all lose sight of if you are working for a company that gives any amenity. That alone is something to be grateful for because that's a small slice of the population.
But it is.
Well,
Think about that.
amenities is how you
Yes.
recruit. These companies are basing their amenities on the type of employees they want to bring in. And there are employees, that's how they make their decision, is based off of what
Amenities.
amenities that company is
Yeah.
providing.
And it
But I
is
remember
starting to,
being
I think, to permeate those other businesses. Not a lot, but
where they
yeah.
can.
I mean, when you think about the fact
You're
that
working in
back in
retail,
the
you're in the
Google
store.
days, it started in California. Now that's true all over the world. I mean, the kind of amenities that
Yeah.
mostly tech companies provide is everywhere, and it's completely taken over in that sense. But I want to go back, Amy, to commute, because that is an important one too that you brought up at the intro. Being able to commute or helping fund your commute, paying for parking, whatever that looks like, that's also an amenity that I think people want. Are they busing people again? I don't think busing has really come back in the way that we had it pre-COVID, where you get on a Google bus and you go
Busing,
to,
well, hold on. I want to say something. Busing was super unique to the Bay Area.
you think?
New York City did not have
Okay.
busing. 100%. That is a
They
bubble.
weren't driving
So
in from
I
Jersey?
think that's
But
important. No.
did they pay for your transportation in the terms of like the subway or the public transportation? Did you get like a punch card or I don't know how you do
Heck
that thing.
no. Nobody was taking the subway anyway, so
How
nobody was
did they
going
get to
anywhere.
work?
You pay to get to work. You don't get paid to travel to work. What? That's like not even
No,
a thing.
no, we've given stipends for travel
Well,
around the world at different companies I've been at.
travel for work is different,
No.
but commuting to
Yeah, I
work,
worked at one company
Commuting.
where you and I met, where
you might get mileage
we
or
gave
gas.
$100 stipend in your paycheck every month to cover commute, whatever that was.
That is a luxury of luxury of luxuries.
Yeah.
So here, let's talk about the buses because here's why those are good. There's still some out there. They're definitely not how they used to be, but they're getting more productivity out of their employees on these
Yep.
buses, right? Because they're working on
On
the
their
bus.
commute.
So
Yeah.
now they're getting, yeah, on their commutes. So they are getting more productivity out of them most of the time. And again, we keep going back to building community. They're making friends on there, right? Now they know who their neighbors are. Now they're going to work together. They're maybe socializing after it starts to build.
Well, and I
That
know,
is
Amy,
true.
you do the same thing that I do, which is when I'm commuting, I'm often on the phone, working, driving. And at some point in the future, in the Waymo Google world, driverless cars, we'll be able to sit in the back seat and get driven to work and be able to work for an hour or whatever your commute is. I mean, it is a continuing, evolving
Or not.
situation.
When we
That is
fly to work, we're going to fly.
Yes, that's happening out here. I know
this
that
is
it
gonna
is.
sound like this is gonna sound like a silly one, but it's a big one. So I've heard you have an aesthetic amenity too. It's why companies will put artwork on the
Yeah.
wall and they'll make it pretty or allow you to have plants and pictures of your family and make your sort of home away from home. But with the post-COVID world in the office, there's a lot of hot desking
Yeah.
going on. So you can no longer personalize it in the way that you could. And so it has a more sterile feel. And I think somebody has to give thought to that too. So like if I can't bring in my personal pictures, like what can be around me that at least feels homey so that I'm comfortable,
In the last
right? So
company,
there's
and
certain
I
things
think we
we
talked about this a couple days ago when we were together, I really wanted to modify how we managed the hoteling so that it was consistent everywhere. You got the same monitor, the same
Mm.
plug-in units that allowed your laptop to plug in, etc. But I really wanted to encourage employees to bring, their own keyboard tray and their own mouse,
Mhm.
and maybe why not a picture, or a mug that
You could put it in
you
your bag and take it
particularly
home.
like for
That's
your
true.
coffee, so that when you come in that day, no matter where you're working, the experience is always the same, frictionless. We talked about that too.
Mhm.
Um, and more personal, and so you feel a little bit more comfortable. I have carried around my mouse, my personal mouse, God, probably for 10 or more years. I bring my own mouse to the office because I just
Wow.
like my mouse. And I think encouraging that more would really be a positive for employees, and we should fund that. Like, let's get them a keyboard and a mouse that they like, and
Well,
then encourage them
So
to use
one
it.
of the fun things about working at one workplace is we always get to test out
Yeah.
products. And so we do
right.
have the same monitor everywhere in our
Mhm.
office. It's a very easy, quick connect, disconnect. We're testing out different things by Logitech where if you use the desk reservation system, there's certain
Mm.
areas that come with the monitor, headphones, the big headphones,
Headphones are a big one.
keyboard and mouse. And so if you reserve it in advance, you get that desk and then the next step is it knows this is not a Logitech product, but it knows you're coming in and you have pictures preloaded. So then it shows like on a little digital
Wow.
frame
Really?
pictures of your family and all of
See?
that. So then it does feel
Not so far
personified,
off the
but
market.
it's just no, it's not. It's coming. If but it's all about that desk reservation
Yep.
system. And I don't know how well people have really truly adapted to that in an open work environment. I think that's been a big challenge is to get people to think ahead to reserve their desk. But if they have maybe that feeling that, oh, my pictures will be up, or if they're expecting me at that desk or something, maybe that'll
Well,
incentivize them more.
what's interesting is we're talking a lot about office environments. What about non-office environments? It's more industrial. There is no desk. So what
What's
else
that
can be
amenity?
offered? I mean, certainly on the food front and on the coffee front, I think break rooms can be really helpful. I think for people that are more construction oriented, physical labor, like there needs to be a sort of oh, we lost Mike. There could be a recovery spot. So, something that is like, so I think it's
Great.
important for this conversation to also broaden and say, hey, for not in the office, just give thought to what will enhance someone's experience.
I agree. Like, what if you're in a manufacturing? You're indoors. Maybe there's no windows. So, what does that outdoor experience? I mean, we're fortunate to live in California and have that beautiful weather. So, what does that outdoor experience, amenity space look like?
Right.
Maybe you bring in, I think I look at benefits too. What kind of action is there? A walking group? Is there, you're talking about a
Absolutely.
meditation room, things like that, just to pull
Yeah.
away, get off
Yeah,
your
yeah,
feet
yeah.
if you've been standing all day.
The shoes, I mean, like, right,
The
so
sh-
some are necessity for safety, right? But some are I think that's actually super important just to not lose sight of. And then even for, like, the remote workers, they're fully remote workers, there are even, like, mental health apps, is meditation, there's just stuff to, like, say, "Hey, it's not all about the grind. What can we do to enhance?" So,
yeah.
anyway, I just wanted to bring that up.
It's not, I don't know if you would consider this an amenity, but one of my favorite things at home to do is take a walking meeting
A walking
where,
meeting.
yes.
You call
So
that an amenity, but that's a great
it's
strategy.
not an amenity, but it sure is healthy.
But good
Like it's
headphones to allow that could be, right? So it
Yeah,
is
but
very healthy.
like the
Yeah,
if you and the person that you're taking the call with, or people you're taking a call, everybody agrees that we're gonna get outside and be and walk and talk.
yeah.
I tend to remember those conversations better.
Actually,
I
that's
feel
physically
more
that's
engaged.
scientifically proven. When you're walking, talking, and moving, there's a certain process that goes on in the brain that is actually a real thing.
Yeah. So that to
Interesting.
me is why I like to work from home.
That brings up another amenity, which is I think the community that you work in. If you've selected a location that has sort of I think this is coming rather quickly to everybody, sort of a downtown vibe where
Mhm.
there are restaurants and hotels and shops and coffee and places to walk or hang out. That's become an amenity too, along the lines of what you're saying, Amy. If you can go for a walk with your colleagues and come back, and maybe you go for a walk across the street and grab a coffee and come back, that's become an amenity too.
I think so, and we were just talking, I know you dropped out for a second, just about non-office environments, how critical amenities are. And it reminded me
Yeah.
of a very long time ago, someone I knew who was an engineer, managed these global projects, and it was all physical labor, but the dining room was essential. And because that's where everybody
Mm,
congregated and relaxed and
yes.
restored and renewed and socialized and blah, blah, blah. And all he did was put curtains up. That's it, to soften the room. And the gratitude that came from that was so enormous that you realize as to how essential these things are. So anyhow, so
That's
it's
very
in the
true. In the
office, it's
last
out of the
project that I
office.
did, sorry, say again?
I was going to say that amenities are not just for inside an office and certainly not just a desk environment. It's got to
Right.
be thought throughout the whole spectrum of
Well,
work.
I think it goes to the comment we talked about the other day. Amenity is wherever you are, right? You are your office, you are
Right.
where you're productive. And I think we've just shared a lot of different ways and having an amenity. I think it's ever evolving. We can't get stuck in one because it's going to be transitioning to something else. So it's a
Very
great
true.
conversation to keep on
Well,
talking
we'll
about.
have more because I know
So
we're coming on time here.
yeah,
Yeah, so we'll continue this as everything keeps evolving.
yeah. Thanks for joining us. Make sure you like, subscribe, and what else
Subscribe.
do we have to do?
Comment.
Comment.
Yes, please.
Share with
We
your
need more
Spread the
friends and
word.
comments.
family.
We need more comments.
Yes.
Thanks,
Thanks for
everybody.
joining us.
We'll talk to our listeners and viewers soon.
Bye bye.
Thank you.